Time I'm speaking in 2 days, and both yesterday and today, I'm like, just give me a minute. I gotta get the food out of my teeth. Yesterday, I said last thing we want is me to spit some like lettuce, and I say something really profound. Exclusions helaas gelaswit in a snap. Jason Tuke sitting a cheaty nutchin class caught mich och möcht niets and couts and niets and samna. Cheats in the Lakwangin Stelachasta I the Satnich the Chalangin La. My name's Tiffany Joseph. I'm Satnich Koltmish and Kowitson. I acknowledge our Lakwangin relatives and my Satnich ancestors who've cared for these lands since time immemorial. Satnich territory includes from Shirley out towards Shirley, BC, which is just past Souk there. Here, Victoria, the Saanich Peninsula, Southern Gulf Islands, and the San Juan Islands, as well as villages on the mainland. You know, it's not just that area. We also share some lands with the Kowitsan peoples. The land territory acknowledgements are not so easy. It's very rare that you can be in Coast Salish homelands and just be on territory that was just one nation. And that's because we were families. Through my mother, going back at least 4 generations, it's all here on the island. And that's from here up to Nanaimo. On my Squamish side, you know, it's mostly Squamish, but it also comes back here to Cowichan on the island. So we married between these nations, and so those divisions exist mostly because we had to start protecting our lands from colonizers. And we had to protect our identities and our birthrights of caring for these lands. But we still are able to live a way of life, especially in the wintertime where we all come together as one. Our languages are similar. That's why we are Coast Salish. We're the Coast Salish language and family group. Language and cultural family group. Because we share our languages are related to each other, and our cultural practices are carried out between one another. So it's really hard for me to see us as separate, you know. But it's hard to really know where to start because I talked about how everything is connected. You know, I guess I could start with my mom. She's a life giver. I'm a life giver. She survived things that just before I was born, it's probably more than one person would expect to live in an entire whole decades of life. She survived it in 2 decades, less than 2 decades. And she's very, if you meet my mom, you know, she's friendly, she's talkative, she'll have jokes to share and make, and everyone's welcome, you know. I tell the story about how there's a bunch of friends of mine that were at my house, and they were all talking about how different people's moms were bitches. And, you know, they're going around and like, wow, you guys are like friends to each other, and you're talking about each other's moms and such. I would never talk about somebody's mom that way, let alone my friend's mom. And then they like talked about each other's moms a bit, and then I was just like, okay, you guys, like, don't talk about my mom that way, because I'm not going to be okay with that. They're like, oh no way, like your mom cooks enough for an army. Like we're not gonna talk about your mom that way. She's cool. And I was like, okay, good, because like I love my mom, and if you said anything terrible, I don't think I'd forgive you. That's the kind of love I have for my mom, you know, and it's generally the kind of love I have for everybody's mom, even when moms maybe aren't the uh, what we want them or need them to be, you know. But I think we all know, well, most of us, not all of us, we know what our moms had to live through, right? For me, as an Indigenous girl, even though I knew my mom didn't go to residential school, I know the people in the community that raised her did. And so, whatever ways she wasn't able to show up for me, I'm like, of course you can't show up for me. Look what you had to live through, you know? You're here. She was a stay at home mom. Like, there's not a lot of moms who can be able to do that. And she broke a lot of cycles in order to be my mother. And she showed me, she chose to do things that were healing, that were hard. And so, um, that's my first introduction into Indigenous women's resistance. And, she taught us about the Highway of Tears. And I saw her teaching other women in the family about the Highway of Tears. She really did everything she could as an individual to do things that were environmentally friendly, so many things she also would point out that were inaccessible because it was unaffordable. Being able to eat organic farm grown food. She's like tried a CSA box for a few months, but she couldn't keep that going because she couldn't afford it. Feeding 5 children, and she really wanted to do that because my brother's autistic, and she had done the research and saw that if she gave him better food, he might be able to regulate himself a bit more. She just wanted him to feel better. She never was one of those moms of an autistic child who wanted to change him. In fact, she's like, he doesn't need to change. We need to support him and understand him. And so those ways that she just moved through the world as a mom of 5 kids taught me so much about how to be a good human being. And very often I like talk about how me and my sisters are, and they're like, wow, you guys are like really mature for your age. I'm just like, try to think about why. And it's just because we were raised by a mom who knew how to be a human being. I was never slut shamed. I was never fat shamed. I wasn't told I was like stupid or anything like that. Like, my mom was perfect, but she really didn't want to put meanness into me. And I use that intentionally, because to give your children messages that they're not enough, that's mean. And it teaches kids to be mean, unkind. And she didn't want to do that. But also she didn't want to like physically harm us, which is pretty common for her generation to have experienced, whether you're Indigenous, non-Indigenous. A lot of people talk about how like it's BIPOC people of that, like that's normalized. They're like, white people are beating their kids too. They just like pretended like they weren't. So she didn't do anything like that to me and my siblings. She actually had to with my brother, and she would always cry after, because he would be hurting himself. That was the way he, when he was overstimulated, he would end up causing harm to himself, and she didn't know how to stop him, and she would end up hurting him while trying to stop him, and she felt terrible about it. So even that, seeing that it hurt her to feel like she didn't know any other way to help her son, Um, and now I look out at all of you and I wonder, did you get to have that? Did you get to have somebody who did not teach you shame about your body? Did you get to have people who, as much as they really maybe wanted to say something mean to you, maybe they really wanted to hurt you because that's what how they were raised, how they looked at you like, I can't do it. Did you get to have that privilege? When I would refuse to go to school, my mom tried to wake me up, tried to get me to go out the door. But when I refused, she didn't try to fight me. You know. And that gave me a lot of opportunity to reflect on why. Why was I like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, always having that battle? Like, I just don't want to go. I don't want to be a part of this colonial system, really. I was like, no, I just can't go. I won't go. You can't make me. And she's like, and I'm literally doing her face, you know, like, she wanted to tell me to go, but she's like, how can I tell you to go when I don't believe in this system either? And so that was my form of resistance. You know, I was assessed as gifted when I was 8 years old. So in theory, I could be successful within that colonial system. And honestly, that's without trying. That's with missing a month of school because I had pneumonia. That's missing several days every month. And yet, I was gifted in that system. So I really didn't have to even show up and still be able to know how to work through that system. My brain just worked that way. But emotionally, I couldn't be there. And so the resistance that I'm a part of is, why are you doing what you think you're supposed to do? Have you actually thought about how you feel? Have you thought about how these systems of racism and oppression cause you to suffer? That it's not something wrong with you, that it's something wrong with the society, that it's something wrong with the patriarchal beliefs within your family. And do you understand that they created these systems to take away your power? Your power. Like every one of you, your power. Like those things that want you to feel like you're fucked up. They're like, please believe that. Believe you're the one who's broken, who's damaged, who's mentally ill. We really want you to believe that. Just keep believing that, because then you don't question the colonial leaders, the corporate leaders, and how sick and twisted they actually are, and how much they don't care about your life or care about their own. Our world needs to be led by life givers. You can apply the word women to that, but really it's just life givers. Anyone can be a life giver. Most women, most girls are actually born knowing the heartbeat of Mother Earth, and that's why we're life givers. But it does take nurturing to maintain that. Women can become patriarchal, and they can lose that rhythm of the Mother Earth's heartbeat, and they can become oppressive. They will echo those messages of slut shaming and how you're damaged and how there's something wrong with you. But life givers will understand that you're suffering for a reason. You're suffering because you care. And life givers will encourage you to find ways that you're powerful and you can make change. And you can find people who care for you. I said this the last time. It's my responsibility to show the way, and it's not me as an individual. It's me just by existing. I have a responsibility to show people a good way by how I carry myself, but also at this time with my words. So I just want to take a moment to bring to light some of the movements in addition to a free Palestine in our lifetime that we must keep in mind. We need all of these movements to be in solidarity with each other. So I'm wearing, No More Stolen Sisters sweater. Indigenous women and girls are the primary target of the Canadian colonizers. And so any amount of respect and dignity that you give me, give to everyone. I'm not special. I should not be the exception to how you treat Indigenous women and girls, but women and girls in general. Treat all people with kindness, respect, and dignity. If you recognize you have abusive traits, if you've done something harmful, fix it. Find a way to do better, be better, and show up better. And also recognize sometimes you need to not show up because your presence hurts people, intimidates people, scares people. Also, just recognize I will not be intimidated, so let's not find out what happens when people try that. Women Life Freedom. There's ongoing gathering for that in Vancouver for, I believe it was said, 58 weeks. A lot of people have... there hasn't really been any organizing around that at all here in Victoria. And it's very important. Human rights originated in Iran. So, we got to educate ourselves about that. Women in Afghanistan and Iran have been fighting for the safety of women for decades together against the Taliban. Thank you for the words about how Palestine is a feminist issue. I just echo that, And then also here in Canada, femicide, and the US as well. But a lot of people are drawn to Indigenous people and communities because we've been fighting against all of the issues since colonizers came here. Because, like I said, we are the primary target. Because if you can take away my power, then you get to steal my land. And you will not steal my land. Thanks for the one woo. Okay. This is, as I said last time, this is matriarchal land. Yeah, let's get okay, this is matriarchal land.
Because in Iran, women, they don't have a choice. And the Islamic Republic of Iran, in 44 years, mashing women for just not covering their hair. Mahsa Amini was killed because she was from Kurdistan. Kurdistan is indigenous people in Iran. they've been fighting against Kurdistan regime of Iran right now. They stand up with women in Iran as well as women in Palestine, because we have the same issue. If over there is genocide, genocide is affecting women. If it's in Iran, it's gender apartheid, like the regime does. So we are all together. We have to fight for women's rights and for women's choice, and that's all about it, and indigenous rights.
And thank you for naming Masa Amini. That makes me think about Breonna Taylor. You know, we need to educate ourselves about misogynoir. We don't see a lot of Black women's faces here. I don't know if I apologize if you are a Black woman and I can't see you right now, but, you know, we don't have solidarity with Black women, frankly. That's what this shows, right? We don't have solidarity for Black women here in Victoria. So we need to educate ourselves. And that's where I'll finish it for today. Free Palestine!